The human traveler walked slowly through the alien market. The air was thick with smoke and strange smells. Merchants shouted in rough voices, selling weapons, food, and living beings. In every corner, there were cages, each covered with dark cloths. The human felt uneasy but also curious. He had seen many markets across the galaxy, but this one felt different. As he moved deeper inside, he heard a whisper. It was soft, almost broken, and came from behind one of the cages. The words reached his ears even through the noise of the crowd. "I'm not pure," the voice said. His steps stopped, his eyes turned toward the cage. Something inside called to him. He pulled the cloth just a little, and what he saw froze him in shock. A girl, small and fragile, sat curled inside. Her skin glowed faintly in the dim light. Her hair was tangled, her body thin, but her eyes, large and bright, watched him with both fear and shame. She looked young, but her face carried a weight much older than her years. She lowered her gaze quickly, whispering again, "I'm not pure." The human felt his chest tighten. He did not understand why she said that, but her voice carried a pain so deep it shook him. Around them, people passed without care. Some laughed at the sight of the cage. Some threw stones to scare her, but no one stopped. No one listened. The human leaned closer, his voice calm. "Why do you say that?" he asked. The girl shook her head, refusing to speak more. Her thin arms wrapped around herself as if she was hiding something. The cage smelled of dust and sadness, and he realized she had been kept here for a long time. The auctioneer noticed him and grinned. "Don't bother with that one, human," the man barked. "She's no treasure. She's spoiled goods, unclean, not worth a coin." The crowd laughed at his words, but the human didn't laugh. He looked again at the girl. She trembled, her lips tight as if she had heard these insults too many times before. The human reached for the cloth, trying to cover her again, but the girl whispered fast, "Don't, please leave it open. I want the light, even if it burns me." His heart ached at her words. What kind of life had she lived that even sunlight felt like a forbidden gift? He watched her carefully. Something about her didn't match the auctioneer's cruel words. She wasn't broken. She wasn't spoiled. There was something hidden beneath her shame, something more powerful. The way her eyes glowed faintly even when she tried to hide them made him believe there was a secret no one wanted to see. The auctioneer slammed his stick on the ground. "Move along, human. She's cursed. If you touch her, you'll regret it. No one dares take her, not even for free." Again the crowd laughed. But the human didn't move. His hands clenched slowly. He knew he should walk away, yet his heart told him to stay. The girl lifted her head for the first time. Her eyes met his, and for a brief moment, everything around them went silent. The market, the shouting, the laughter, it all disappeared. All that remained was her voice in his mind. "I'm not pure, but you still looked at me." The human froze. He didn't know if she had spoken aloud or if her thoughts had reached him, but one thing was clear. This was no ordinary girl. She carried a secret that others feared, and now, for the first time, she had allowed someone to see her. He stood there, caught between reason and instinct. Something told him that his life had just changed. He didn't know why yet, but he knew this girl was the beginning of something far greater than himself. And as he reached his hand closer to the bars of the cage, the girl's whisper trembled again. "If you touch me, you will never be the same." The human could not move away from the cage. Something inside him told him that this girl was not like the others. Her whisper still echoed in his mind. "I'm not pure." He wanted to know what she meant. He wanted to know why her words carried so much pain. The girl sat with her knees pulled to her chest. Her thin arms hugged her body. She tried to hide, but her eyes betrayed her. They were large, shining in the dark like twin stars. When she finally looked at him again, he saw not only fear, but also a strange strength. A strength she herself did not believe in. The chains around her wrists rattled as she moved slightly. They were heavy, built not just to bind, but to humiliate. Her ankles were chained too, forcing her to sit low in the dust. She looked fragile, but the chains told another story. Why would they bind her so tightly if she was truly worthless? The human knelt closer to the bars. His voice was steady. "What is your name?" She shook her head quickly. "No name, not anymore," she whispered. "They took it when they chained me. I am only shame now." His chest grew heavier at her words. To lose a name was to lose identity. He felt anger boiling inside him, but he kept it quiet. Around them, the market noise grew louder. People noticed he was still staring at her. Some began to murmur, others laughed. "The human stares at cursed eyes," one alien shouted. "If he touches her, he will carry her filth forever." The laughter rolled like thunder, but the human did not step back. He did not care about their words. He spoke again, softer. "You are not shame, I see you." The girl's lips parted, but she did not answer. Instead, her chains clinked as she pulled back. Her eyes filled with panic. She looked left and right, as if expecting punishment for his kindness. Her voice trembled. "Don't say that. Don't look at me like that. If they hear you, they will take you too." The human leaned closer. "Let them hear," he said. His eyes did not leave hers. For a long moment, the world seemed to pause. The market faded into background noise, and only those glowing eyes mattered. But then the auctioneer stepped forward, his grin wide. "Human fool," he barked. "Do you not understand? Those eyes you see are cursed. Whoever meets them will never know peace. That's why she hides behind cloths. That's why no one dares buy her." He banged his staff on the ground. "She is dangerous. She carries a stain that can never be washed away." The girl closed her eyes tightly, as if to agree, as if she believed every cruel word. The human clenched his fists. His thoughts burned. He had seen liars before. He had seen men who sold lies as truth. But this time he felt the weight of the lie crushing the girl's spirit. He reached out, his hand almost brushing the iron bars. The girl gasped and shook her head violently. "Don't. If you touch the cage, they will mark you. You will be one of us, cursed and hunted." Her whisper was desperate. Her chains rattled again as she tried to stop him, but the human did not pull back. His voice was low, steady. "Then let them mark me." Her eyes shot open, glowing brighter than before. For the first time, shock replaced her fear. She stared at him as if he was someone who had stepped out of a dream. The crowd around them jeered louder. Some threw stones toward the cage. Others shouted warnings. But the girl's focus stayed on him. Her glowing eyes locked onto his, and a silent question formed between them. Why would a human risk himself for her? In that fragile moment, the chains rattled once more, but this time they sounded different. As if the metal itself trembled under the weight of her gaze, the human noticed it too. His heart raced. There was something hidden in her eyes, something powerful, something the world feared. And as he leaned closer, she whispered again, not with despair this time, but with a trembling hope. "You looked into my eyes, and you did not turn away." The human froze. He felt the truth. Her chains were not only metal, they were lies, shame, and fear forced upon her. And now, for the first time, those chains had begun to crack. The auctioneer slammed his staff on the ground. His loud voice cut through the market noise. "Enough staring. If you want her, human, then speak your price, otherwise move away." The crowd cheered, eager to see what foolish thing the outsider would do. The human did not move. His eyes stayed on the girl. She was shaking, her head lowered, her chains rattled with every breath she took. The words of the auctioneer felt like knives, but what hurt more was the silence of the girl. She seemed to accept her fate, as if she believed she was not worth saving. The human finally spoke, his voice strong. "I will take her." The market fell into sudden silence. Whispers spread like fire. Did he say take her? Is he blind? Does he not know she is cursed? The auctioneer blinked in surprise, then burst into cruel laughter. "You want this broken thing, this shameful waste. Do you know what you are asking?" The girl lifted her head slightly. Her lips trembled. "No," she whispered. "Don't, please don't. I am not pure. You will regret this." But her voice was swallowed by the roar of the crowd. The human didn't listen to their laughter or her warning. His heart beat with certainty. He couldn't walk away. The auctioneer's smile turned sharp. "If you truly want her, then pay. But know this, her price is shame itself. She is worthless, yet I will take your gold if you insist." The man spat on the ground, mocking him. The crowd shouted, cheering for the human to give up. The human reached into his coat and threw down a bag of coins. The sound of metal clashing against stone silenced the jeers for a moment. The auctioneer's eyes widened. He had not expected the human to actually pay. Slowly, he bent down, picked up the bag, and sneered. "So be it. The cursed one is yours. May her filth destroy you." The girl gasped. Her eyes filled with tears. She shook her head violently. Why would you waste your wealth on me? I am not worth even a single coin. Her voice broke. The human knelt by the cage, his tone soft. Because you are not worthless. Because you deserve freedom. The words hit her like lightning. For a moment her glowing eyes locked onto his. Then she pulled back again, covering her face. You don't understand. If you take me, you will carry my curse. Everyone will hate you. Everyone will call you unclean. She rattled her chains as if to prove her point. The human only smiled faintly. Let them call me what they want. Their words cannot change the truth I see. The girl's hands shook. She had never heard such words before. No one had ever spoken to her as if she mattered. No one had ever offered her something without disgust. The auctioneer unlocked the cage with a sharp clang. The smell of rust filled the air. The girl flinched, expecting to be dragged out roughly, but instead, the human stepped forward and reached out his hand. The crowd watched, waiting to see if he would touch her. Some whispered that his skin would burn. Others said his eyes would go blind. The girl stared at his hand. Her lips parted, her whisper barely audible. If I take it, you will never be the same. The human's voice was steady. I don't want to be the same. His hand didn't shake. It stayed open, waiting for her choice. Slowly, trembling, she lifted her chained hand and placed it in his. The chains clinked loudly, and the market gasped. Nothing happened. No curse, no fire, only silence. The girl's eyes widened as tears rolled down her cheeks. She could not believe what she felt. His hand was warm, and for the first time she was touched without fear. The auctioneer scowled and spat. Take her then, fool Hershaw. Me is now yours. The crowd jeered again, but their laughter sounded weaker this time. Some even looked uneasy, as if the human's boldness had shaken their certainty. The girl walked slowly out of the cage, still holding his hand, her chains heavy, her body weak, but in her eyes something had changed. It was small, fragile, but real. Hope. The human looked down at her and whispered so only she could hear, Your price is not shame, your price is freedom. And in that moment, the girl realized the human had not only bought her body, he had bought her chains, and perhaps he was the only one who could break them. The girl stepped out of the cage for the first time in years. Her chains clinked with every movement. The crowd pressed closer, whispering and pointing. Some shouted warnings. Others spat on the ground, but the human kept her hand in his, steady and strong. The auctioneer laughed harshly. Take her, human. You will learn soon enough what curse you have bought. His voice echoed in the air. The human ignored him. He pulled his cloak from his shoulders and placed it gently around the girl. Her body shivered beneath the cloth, unused to kindness, unused to warmth. They began to walk through the market. The girl's steps were slow, unsteady. Each sound of the chains felt like a scream against the silence. The crowd followed them with cruel laughter. Some threw scraps of food, some stones. But the human never let go of her hand. He shielded her with his body, his jaw set like iron. The girl whispered softly, her voice trembling. You should leave me. They will follow you. They will not forgive what you did. I am nothing but trouble. The human looked down at her. Then let them follow. Let them hate. You are not nothing. She lowered her gaze quickly, her heart pounding with confusion. His words felt like forbidden fire, too bright to touch. As they left the open market and stepped into narrow alleys, shadows stretched long across the ground. The air grew colder. The human felt the weight of eyes watching them from the dark. He knew they were being followed. And the sound of footsteps echoed faintly behind them, slow, patient, dangerous. The girl noticed too. Her voice shook. They want me back. They will not stop. You don't know who they are. He tightened his grip on her hand. Then we will keep moving. I won't let them take you again. His words were calm, but inside his chest his heartbeat quickened. They turned corner after corner. The alleys twisted like a maze. The girl's breath grew heavy, her small body struggling under the chains. The human paused and knelt. Without hesitation, he lifted her into his arms. She gasped softly, shocked by the sudden closeness. Why would you carry me? I am impure. I will stain you. His voice was steady. You are not impure. You are tired. That is all. Her eyes widened, glowing faintly in the dark. She buried her face against his chest, afraid of being seen, afraid of feeling safe. It was the first time she had been carried not as property, but as something precious. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to believe. but the sound of boots striking stone grew louder. The hunters were close now. The human could hear low voices in a language he didn't know. He felt the danger pressing against them. He slipped into a side street, pressing his back against the wall. His breath was quiet, steady. He waited, holding her close. The girl trembled in his arms. "They will kill you for me," she whispered. "No human survives against them." He looked into her glowing eyes. "Then let them try." His words carried no fear, only steel. She had never heard such defiance before, and it stirred something deep inside her. The shadows moved. 3 tall figures stepped into the alley ahead. Their armor shimmered with dark light. Their eyes burned red under their helmets. Each carried a weapon that pulsed with alien fire. The girl gasped and buried her face again. "The hunters," she whispered. "They have come for me." The human stood firm, still carrying her in his arms, his voice low but unshaken. "They will not have you." The hunters advanced slowly, their weapons humming with power. The alley was silent except for the sound of chains and the girl's trembling breath. The human's free hand clenched into a fist. He knew he was only a man against warriors of another world, but he also knew something greater. He was no longer fighting for himself. He was fighting for her, for the girl who thought she was not pure, but who deserved more than the shadows. As the hunters raised their weapons, the girl suddenly lifted her head. Her eyes glowed brighter than before. The human felt the warmth of her light against his chest. She whispered trembling words, words that shook even the hunters. "If you want me, you will have to face what I truly am." The alley burned with tension as the hunters stepped closer. Their weapons glowed with cruel light. The human stood firm, his arm tight around the trembling girl. He knew he was only flesh against fire, but his will refused to bend. The girl's eyes glowed brighter, but then she squeezed them shut, her breath uneven. "I cannot," she whispered. "If I use it, they will know who I am. They will never stop." The human's jaw tightened. "They already know. They are here for you, not me, but I will not let them take you." His voice was iron, calm but fierce. The hunters raised their weapons, ready to strike. The human braced himself, but before they could attack, a sudden flare of light burst from the girl's arm. It spilled through the cloak he had given her, glowing like fire through fabric. The human blinked in shock as the sleeve slipped down, revealing the truth. On her pale skin burned a mark. It pulsed like living fire, strange lines curling into a shape not of this world. It glowed with power, but also with sorrow. She gasped and yanked her arm back, trying to hide it again. "Don't look, please don't." Her voice broke with shame. The hunters froze, then laughed with cruel delight. "So it is true," one hissed. "The impure he bears the mark, the cursed gift." Another slammed his weapon against the wall, sparks flying. "She cannot be allowed to live. She is a danger to us all." The girl shook her head, tears spilling. "This is why they hate me. This mark proves I was touched, that I was taken. I am no longer pure. I cannot be what I was meant to be." Her words cracked, filled with a pain carved deep. She curled against the human's chest, ashamed. But the human stared at the mark differently. To him, it was not a stain. It was a sign, not of shame, but of survival. His hand gently took her wrist, lifting her arm even as she tried to pull away. "This is not a curse," he said firmly. "This is proof that you are still here. You lived through what should have broken you." The girl's eyes widened. She searched his face, looking for disgust, looking for fear, but found none. His words wrapped around her heart like warmth she had never known. For a moment, the weight of her shame cracked, even if only a little. The hunter snarled, "Fool human! You think her mark is strength. It is a sign of corruption, a disease that must be purged." They stepped closer, weapons sparking with violent light. The girl whimpered, "You see, this is why I told you to leave me. If you stand with me, they will kill you too." But the human only smiled faintly, his grip unshaken. "Then let them try. I will not let them take you. Not now, not ever." His eyes burned with defiance. His words carried across the alley like steel. The girl's mark glowed brighter, reacting to his touch. For the first time, instead of shrinking from it, she allowed the light to flow. It spread along her arm, wrapping her in a faint aura. The hunter stepped back, suddenly unsure. "She cannot control it," one shouted. "Kill her before it grows." The human moved, his body between her and the hunters, his voice low. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me first." His courage struck harder than any weapon. For a moment, even the hunters faltered. The girl gasped, clutching his cloak. Her whisper trembled. Why do you not fear me? Why do you not hate what I am?" His reply was simple, steady. "Because I see the truth. You are not impure. You are stronger than all of them." Her glowing eyes filled with tears, not of sorrow this time, but of something she thought she had lost long ago. Hope. The hunters raised their weapons again, anger shaking their voices. But the human held his ground, and the girl's mark shone like a rising star. For the first time in years, she no longer wished to hide it. She lifted her arm, her light spilling across the walls of the alley, and as the hunters shouted in fury, the girl whispered, her voice trembling yet fierce, "If my mark is a curse, then let my curse be my weapon." The glow of the girl's mark filled the alley like a second sun. The hunters hissed and stepped back, their weapons buzzing with nervous energy. They had expected fear, not resistance. They had expected shame, not light. The human stood firm, his hand still holding hers. His eyes reflected the glow of her mark. For a moment, he felt her trembling stop. Her breath steadied as if his strength was flowing into her. He whispered so only she could hear, "Don't hide anymore. They already fear you. Let them see why." The hunters growled, spreading out. One raised his weapon high, shouting, "You cannot protect her, human. She belongs to us. She carries impurity, and impurity must be erased." Their voices echoed like thunder. The girl flinched, the chains still heavy around her ankles. She whispered in panic, "I cannot fight them. They are trained to kill. If I use the mark again, I may lose control. I may hurt you." Her glowing eyes searched his face, desperate for an answer. The human bent down slightly, his gaze locked with hers. "Then trust me, I would rather fall beside you than watch you be taken." His voice was calm, but his words struck deep into her soul. She had never been trusted, never been chosen, until now. The hunters lunged forward, their weapons slashing with burning light. The human pulled her behind him and blocked with nothing but his arm and courage. Sparks tore across the alley wall. Pain seared his skin, but he did not cry out. Instead, he shoved back with raw strength, surprising the alien warrior. The girl gasped, clutching his cloak. Her mark pulsed brighter as if answering his pain. She raised her arm without thinking. A wave of light burst out, knocking one hunter backward into the stone wall. The crowd at the far end of the alley screamed and scattered. The other two hunters roared with fury. They swung their weapons together, a storm of spar. Case lit the night. The human dodged one strike but barely avoided the second. His arm bled, but his eyes never left the girl. "Do not stop," he shouted. "Use your power. You are not weak." Her breath shook. Her heart raced. She feared the mark, but his words wrapped around her like a shield. She lifted her chained hands high. The glow spread, brighter, hotter. Her chains began to vibrate, then snapped apart with a sound like thunder. The hunters froze, shock written across their faces. The girl fell to her knees, free at last. Her arms glowed with living fire. Her tears shone with light. "I am not pure," she whispered, "but I am not nothing." Her voice shook the air. The human stood over her, ready to fight again. The hunters raised their weapons once more, but hesitation slowed their steps. They had hunted her for years, called her cursed, broken, worthless. But now, in the human's presence, she looked unstoppable. One hunter snarled, "She is dangerous, more than we thought." Another shouted, "She must be ended before she remembers what she truly is." Their voices carried fear now, not just hatred. The girl looked up at the human, her eyes glowing fiercely. "If I fight, they will know my truth. Do you still want me by your side?" Her voice cracked with fear and hope. The human crouched beside her, his hand brushing her arm without hesitation. "I want you exactly as you are. No curse, no shame, only you." His words broke through her doubt like sunlight through clouds. She stood slowly, her glow spreading across the alley walls. The hunters backed away, but their weapons still burned. The human stood beside her, his fists ready. Her light touched him, wrapping him in warmth. Together they looked like a force the hunters could not break. The girl whispered, her voice trembling but fierce. "If they want me, they will face not only my mark, but also my choice." She stepped forward, no longer hiding behind the human. Her glow brighter than ever. The hunters roared and charged again, but this time the girl did not flinch. She raised her glowing hands, and the humuthum alley filled with light so sharp it cut the darkness apart. The alley exploded with light as the girl raised her glowing hands. The hunters staggered back, their armor cracking under the force. Their weapons flickered as if the power inside them was swallowed by her mark. The human shielded his eyes but did not move away from her side. He stood firm, letting her light wash over him. When the brightness softened, the hunters lay broken on the ground, groaning in pain. The crowd that had gathered to watch the fight had scattered into the night, afraid of the power they had seen. Only silence remained, broken by the sound of the girl's trembling breath. Her body shook as she looked at her glowing arms. Fear filled her face. No, this cannot be. I was never meant to hold this. This is why they chained me, why they called me impure. My power is not a blessing, it is a curse. She fell to her knees, clutching her arms as if she wanted to tear the mark away. The human knelt beside her, his hand firm on her shoulder, his voice steady. It is not a curse, it is you. Do not let them decide your worth. She looked at him with wide eyes, her lips trembling. But you do not understand. This power can destroy. I could even destroy you. He met her gaze without fear. Then I trust you not to. I see the truth. You are afraid not because you are cursed, but because you are stronger than anyone told you. His words sank deep into her soul, stirring something buried under years of shame. Her tears glowed faintly in the light of her mark. She whispered softly, if they knew I carried this gift, they would never stop hunting me. They would burn worlds to see me ended. Do you see now why I said I am not pure? The human's jaw tightened. His voice carried weight. Then let them come. If they fear you, let them fear. I will stand with you, not against you. She blinked, shocked by his certainty. No one had ever spoken of her power without disgust. No one had ever said they would stand with her if the galaxy turned against her. A faint sound came from the broken hunters. One dragged himself to his knees, his helmet cracked, his voice weak but filled with venom. You cannot hide forever, girl. The council knows what you are. They will come. They will end you. His words cut like knives. The girl flinched, clutching her chest. The council, she whispered. Her fear deepened. They will not allow me to live. They will tear me apart for what I carry. Her eyes dimmed, the glow fading. Her body shook as if she was ready to collapse. The human turned sharply to the hunter, his eyes blazing. Then tell your council this. She is no longer theirs to judge. With one swift move, he knocked the hunter unconscious. The alley fell silent again. The girl looked at him, her breath uneven. Why do you not fear me? Everyone else fears me, hates me, calls me unclean. Why are you different? Her voice cracked as if begging for an answer. The human's hand brushed her cheek gently, his voice low, calm. Because I see you. Not the chains, not the mark, not the shame they forced on you. Only you. Her glowing eyes widened, her lips trembling with unspoken words. For a long moment, she could not breathe. For the first time in her life, she felt the weight of her curse lift just a little, replaced with something new. Hope. She whispered so softly that even the night seemed to lean closer. Then hear me, human. This power inside me is not only dangerous, it is alive. It whispers to me. It tells me I am more than what they say, but also warns me I may lose myself if I use it. Her voice shook as the glow returned to her arms. The human's grip on her shoulder tightened. Then you will not face it alone. Whatever whispers to you, let it speak. I will listen too, together. We will decide if it is curse or gift. Her eyes widened, glowing brighter, and for the first time she allowed herself to believe that maybe her power was not the end of her story, but the beginning. The night was quiet after the hunters fell, but the silence was heavy. The girl's glow dimmed as she sank to the ground. Her breath trembled, her chains broken, but her spirit still burdened. The human crouched beside her, his hand steady on her shoulder, his voice calm. You are free now. She shook her head slowly, her glowing eyes filled with tears. No, I am not free. They will come again, stronger. The council will not rest. I cannot fight them. I cannot even trust myself. Her voice broke with despair. The human met her gaze firmly. You can. You already did. You stood against the hunters. You broke your chains. That was not weakness. That was strength. His words struck her heart, but still she shook her head. You do not understand. The council will call me impurity itself. They will call you a fool for standing with me. You will lose everything. He smiled faintly, his eyes burning with certainty. Then I will lose everything, but I will not lose you. His voice carried no fear, only truth. The girl gasped softly, her lips trembling as if no one had ever chosen her before. From the shadows, the sound of boots echoed again. More figures appeared at the end of the alley, armored and armed. Their banners carried the symbol of the council. The girl froze, her body shaking, her whisper barely audible. It is too late. They have come. The human rose to his feet, standing in front of her like a shield. His fists clenched though he carried no weapon. His voice carried across the alley. If you want her, you must face me first. The council soldiers laughed coldly. A human against the council. You are nothing. The girl grabbed his arm, tears shining in her glowing eyes. Please don't. You cannot win against them. They will kill you. They will kill us both. But he only looked down at her, his gaze soft but unshaken. Faith is not about knowing the outcome, Fa. It is choosing even when the world calls you a fool. His words wrapped around her like fire. Her chest tightened. The whispers of her power stirred again inside her. Louder than before, she felt both fear and strength rising together. For the first time, she wondered if her curse was waiting for her to believe in herself. The council soldiers advanced, their weapons glowing with cold fire. The human raised his fists. His heart pounded, but he did not step back. Behind him, the girl's glow returned, brighter than before. She whispered, If I fight with you, I may lose control, but if I do nothing, they will destroy us. Tell me what to do. The human's voice was strong. Trust yourself, trust the power, trust me. Her tears fell, but her hands lifted. Her mark pulsed with light that spread across her arms and chest. The soldiers slowed, unease creeping into their eyes. They had hunted her for years, but now she stood beside a human who refused to let go. Her glow turned the alley into day. The soldiers shouted and charged. Their weapons swung in arcs of deadly light. The human moved first, striking with raw strength. His fists clashed against armored bodies. Pain burned his knuckles, but he did not fall. Every strike he made was fueled not by anger, but by his faith in her. The girl raised her arms and released a wave of light. The ground shook. The soldiers stumbled, their weapons dimming under the force. Her chains had been broken, but now it was her shame that shattered. For the first time, she used her power not to hide but to protect. The soldiers cried out in fear. She has awakened. She will bring ruin. Their voices were drowned by the roar of her power. The human stood beside her, his arm around her as if her light was his shield. Together they stood against the council's wrath. The girl's voice trembled, but it carried strength. You called me impu. You called me cursed. But tonight I fight not as your shame, I fight as myself. The soldiers staggered back, their fear clear. The human's voice rang out beside her. She is not impurity. She is not impurity. She is truth, and no council can take that from her. The alley glowed brighter and brighter until the soldiers fled into the night, leaving behind their broken weapons. The girl collapsed to her knees, gasping, her glow fading. She looked up at the human with wide eyes. Why do you still hold me? Why do you still believe? He knelt beside her, his arms steady around her shoulders, his voice low but unshaken. Because faith is not about purity. Faith is about seeing what others refuse to see. I see you. Her tears fell freely now, but this time they were not of despair. They were of hope. The night air was heavy with silence after the soldiers fled. The girl sat weakly against the wall, her glow fading, her body trembled, her chains now broken but her heart still burdened. The human knelt beside her, his arms steady around her shoulders, his voice calm. You are safe now. She shook her head slowly, her glowing eyes filled with fear. No, I am not safe. You are not safe. The council will return with more. They will not stop until I am gone. They will not forgive you for standing with me. Her voice cracked with despair. The human brushed her tangled hair gently away from her face. Then let them come. I have made my choice. His words were calm, but each one struck deep into her chest. She looked at him in shock, her lips trembling. What choice? Why would you choose me? I am only shame. I am only impurity. He shook his head, his eyes fierce. No, you are not shame. You are not impurity. You are life. You are light. That mark they fear is not a curse. It is proof of your strength, and I will stand with you even if the whole galaxy turns against me. Her tears spilled, glowing faintly in the dim alley light. You don't understand. If you stay with me, they will mark you as cursed too. You will lose your name, your people, your home. Her voice trembled as if begging him to walk away, begging him to save himself, but the human's gaze did not waver. I would rather lose all of that than lose you. His voice carried such weight that she gasped. Her heart pounded. She had been abandoned, mocked, sold like an object, and now a human, a stranger, chose her above everything. The sound of heavy boots echoed again. More council soldiers marched into the alley. Their armor gleamed, their banners bright with the mark of judgment. They surrounded the human and the girl. Their leader stepped forward, his voice booming. The impure one belongs to the council. Stand aside, human. This is not your fight. The human rose to his feet, standing tall before them. His voice rang clear. It is my fight now. She is not impurity. She is not shame. She is mine to protect. His words rolled like thunder through the alley. The soldiers murmured in shock. Their leader sneered. You dare claim her. A human dares claim what the council has condemned. Then you too are unclean. His staff struck the ground, sparks flying. By law, both of you must be destroyed. The girl gasped, grabbing the human's hand, her voice trembling. Please don't say that. If you claim me, you will carry my curse. You will lose everything. He looked down at her, his hand tightening around hers, his voice steady. Then let me lose everything, because without you, I have nothing. Her eyes widened, glowing bright with tears. Her heart pounded with disbelief and hope. The soldiers raised their weapons, ready to strike. The girl shook her head. No, I cannot let you fall for me. I will surrender. I will go with them. It is better than watching you die. But the human stepped in front of her, blocking the soldier's path, his voice loud and unshaken. No, you will not surrender. You will not kneel to them. Tonight, I choose you. The alley trembled, whispered. The weight of his words, the girl's glow burst to life again, stronger than before, fed not by fear but by his faith. The soldiers stumbled back as her power rose like a storm. The leader shouted. Back as her power rose like a storm, the leader shouted. She is awakening, stop her! But his voice carried fear. The girl clutched the human's hand, her glow wrapping around him too. For the first time, she did not whisper of impurity. For the first time, she whispered with pride. You chose me, and I will choose you. Her light exploded, flooding the alley with brilliance. The soldiers staggered, blinded, their weapons shattered. The council's judgment crumbled under the weight of her power. And as the light dimmed, the girl fell weakly against the human, whispering, If I am not pure, then let me be yours. The alley still glowed faintly from the girl's light. The soldiers who had come to claim her lay broken and scattered, their weapons cracked, their banners torn. The night was quiet again, but it was not the same silence as before. It was heavy with change. The girl leaned weakly against the human, her breath uneven. Her chains were gone, but her fear still lingered. Her glowing eyes looked up at him, trembling. Why did you do this? Why did you risk everything for me? He brushed the dust from her tangled hair, his voice steady and calm. Because no one is born shame, no one is born impurity. They made you believe lies. I will never let those lies decide who you are. Her tears spilled, glowing faintly in the dark. She whispered, All my life I hid behind a cloth. They forced me to cover my face, my mark, my eyes. They said I was too broken to be seen, too ruined to be touched, and I believed them. Her voice cracked with pain. The human reached into the folds of her torn cloak. His hand found the old cloth they had used to hide her in the cage. He held it up, its edges stained and filthy. This is not who you are, he said firmly. This was their way of chaining your spirit, no more. Slowly, with trembling fingers, the girl took the cloth from his hand. She stared at it, her lips shaking. The whispers of her shame filled her mind again. But then she looked at the human, standing steady beside her, His eyes filled not with fear but with belief. With one sharp breath, she dropped the cloth to the ground. It fluttered in the wind and landed in the dirt. The moment it fell, the night air shifted. Her glow brightened, not from fear but from acceptance. Her face uncovered, her mark shining, her eyes filled with strength. The human smiled faintly. Now the galaxy can see you as I do. His words struck her heart like fire. She lifted her chin, for the first time unashamed. The whispers of her power no longer sounded like curses. They sounded like a song. From the far end of the alley, survivors of the crowd peeked out. Their eyes widened as they saw her standing in the open without her veil. Some whispered in awe, others in fear. But none could deny what they saw. She was no curse. She was something greater. The girl's voice trembled but carried through the night. You called me impure. You called me broken. But I am still here. I survived your chains. I survived your lies. And I am not ashamed anymore. The human stood tall beside her, his hand resting on hers, his voice loud and strong. She is not impurity. She is not curse. She is truth. And no counsel, no chain, no cloth can ever take that from her again. The whispers of the crowd grew louder, but this time the fear mixed with respect. The hunters who had mocked her now looked at her with awe. The story of the impure girl was broken. A new story had begun. The girl turned to the human, her tears shining. You saw me when no one else dared. You touched me when they said I was poison. You chose me when they called me nothing. What name do I have now? He looked at her, his eyes steady and warm. Your name is yours to claim, not theirs to steal. Call yourself what you wish, and I will speak it to the stars. Her lips trembled, her eyes glowing brightly. She whispered softly, Then my name is Hope. The human smiled, his hand tightening around hers. Hope, then let the galaxy remember it. As dawn broke over the alien city, the girl stood tall beside the human. The cloth that once hid her lay forgotten in the dust. Her glow touched the rising sun, and for the first time in her life, she did not whisper, I am not pure. She whispered, I am free.